Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called 10 Things That Shocked the British About Poland, UK versus Poland Culture. This is from a channel called The Poland, so check that out. And I don't know, what things are going to be shocking about Poland. I think they have, I don't know if they are that different of a culture. I don't know, I guess we'll see. To me, or maybe a little bit more similar, I don't know. But let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
Imagine landing in a country only 2 hours away by flight, where the architecture looks familiar and the coffee shops look the same. But within 20 minutes of leaving the airport, you realize you've stepped into a completely different social dimension. For a British traveler, Poland isn't just a different country, it's a psychological challenge.
Oh my god.
From the way people look at you in the street to the sheer intensity of a Sunday afternoon, the British way of existing suddenly feels inefficient. Why does a culture that seems so similar on the surface feel so radically different in practice?
Well, to them it's going to feel
Today
different.
we're diving into the 10
countries.
specific cultural shocks that leave British visitors questioning everything they thought they knew about social etiquette.
Oh my
And
god.
wait until we get to number 7. It's the one thing that makes every Brit feel like they've accidentally committed a crime.
God. I think British people are very polite, right? And shy? Why not be
In
shy?
the United
Polite.
Kingdom, small talk is the social lubricant that keeps the wheels turning. You apologize to a stationary object if you bump into it. You spend 5 minutes discussing the bits of clouds in the sky before asking for a train ticket. But in Poland, that entire layer of social padding is stripped away.
They don't like,
For
they
a
don't like
Brit,
small talk.
walking into a Polish shop can be a jarring experience. There is no, "How are you today?" or "Lovely weather we're having." Instead, there is a directness that feels, to the uninitiated British ear, almost aggressive. But here is the deeper context. In
outta
Poland,
here.
honesty is valued over performative politeness. If a Pole asks, "How are you?" they are genuinely asking for a status report on your life.
That's kind of, I think, similar. I think the British operate similar to the US. So I'm wondering if the US, has that part of the US culture, of the American culture, comes from the UK.
If you aren't prepared to give it, don't ask the question. To the British, silence is awkward. To the Polish, silence is often just
Peaceful.
efficient. Is it rudeness? Or is it simply a culture that respects your time too much to waste it on fluff?
That's interesting.
As the video continues, you'll see how this directness manifests in ways that actually make life much easier, once you get over the initial shock.
Yeah, sure, you'll get used to it eventually if you stay there.
Let's talk about something that truly baffles anyone coming from the land of national rail inquiries. In the UK, the railway system is a source of national grief. A few leaves on the track or a light dusting of snow can paralyze the entire network.
Oh,
When
really?
Brits arrive in Warsaw, Krakow or Wrocław, they encounter a public transport system that feels like it belongs in a sci-fi movie. Trams and
It's
buses don't just show up, they arrive exactly when the digital screen says they will.
Amazing.
For a Brit, seeing a tram pull away at 12:04 precisely, when the schedule said 12:04, is a spiritual experience.
Interesting, because I think I think the British are known for being punctual, so that's crazy to me. But maybe in their lives, not as in the bus or the train doesn't really depend on on one single individual.
But it's not just the punctuality, it's the accessibility. In a country where London's tube prices can eat a significant portion of a daily wage,
Oh,
the
really?
affordability of Polish transport is a massive shock.
How expensive is the
It
British
raises
one?
a silent question for every British visitor. If they can do it here,
Why not
with
we?
much harsher winters,
Yeah.
why can't we do it back home?
That's true. Really, really good. That's really good
We
thought.
need to address the weather. The British climate is a constant lukewarm maybe. It might rain, it
Oh.
might be overcast, it's rarely 25 degrees, and it's rarely
That's
below
Celsius.
0. Poland, however, doesn't do maybe. In the summer, the heat hits like a physical weight, often soaring past 30 degrees Celsius.
That's hot.
But it's the winter that truly shocks the British system.
It's cold.
Seeing a city continue to function perfectly at minus 15 degrees Celsius,
Oh, is that
with
cold?
children walking to school and trams running on time, is mind-blowing to someone used to the UK shutting down because of
They have to
2
shut
inches
down.
of slush.
Wow. Yeah.
And how do you survive that climate? You turn soup into a structural pillar of society.
But me, that's
In
a
Britain,
secret.
soup is what you eat when you're sick or trying to lose weight. In Poland, soup,
What?
like żurek or borscht, is a heavy-duty,
Oh, there's a
fermented, garlic-infused event. For a Brit, being served a soup with a whole boiled egg and chunks of sausage inside isn't starting a meal. It feels like finishing one.
Would you finish with soup? I think it's the opposite. Shouldn't you sort of start, I think that's the first course, right? A soup. That's not weird, right?
If you walk through any Polish town center, you'll notice a recurring green
I think it's still weirder. I think it's weirder to have it at the end of your meal. At the end of your meal comes dessert, after the first and second courses. So first course is usually soup. So what are the British doing?
cross.
What?
And then another and another.
Pharmacies?
The density of pharmacies, aptekas, is one of the most visible shocks for a British visitor.
It's that means like apothecary, right? That the word I think means it comes from the same word, right?
In the UK, you have a few massive chains like Boots or Superdrug.
Oh, Boots.
In Poland, it feels like there is a pharmacy for every 10 citizens. It paints a picture of a nation that is incredibly proactive about health.
Actually, I want to know, are there actual pharmacies that actually sell just medicine? You need a prescription and stuff? Or is it, you can get makeup and sort of nail polish and just, things, goodies and personal care items?
While a Brit might wait 2 weeks for a GP appointment to get a prescription, the Polish system seems built for immediate, over-the-counter solutions. It's a level of medical accessibility that feels foreign and slightly intimidating to the average visitor. Have
Well,
you ever
I
noticed
guess.
a British tourist looking confused in a Polish pharmacy? Or perhaps you've seen their reaction to a bowl of cold beet soup. Let us know in the comments which Polish habit you think is the hardest for foreigners to grasp.
Well, that's not hard. I mean, would be great. Yeah, sure.
Number
Your
6 on
problem,
our
here
list
it
is the
Bye.
one that causes the most bruised feelings. British culture is built on hedging. We say, I'm not sure that's entirely correct, when we mean you are completely wrong.
Oh,
In a Polish professional or social setting, that
Okay.
ambiguity disappears.
you're wrong.
If a Pole
period.
thinks an idea is bad, they will tell you it is bad. They aren't trying to hurt your feelings.
It's
They are
direct.
trying to save time. To a Brit, this feels like a cold shower. But there's a hidden benefit. When a Pole pays you a compliment, you know they actually mean it. There is no polite
upside.
lying. For a
Well,
British
good.
person, learning to navigate this honesty zone is like learning a second language of the soul.
Technically, it is. It is a second language.
Now we get to the Sunday shock. In the UK, Sunday is a massive shopping day. It's when everyone flocks to the retail parks. In Poland, the Sunday
Everything's
trading
closed.
ban created silence that many Brits haven't experienced since the 1980s. The realization that you actually
They changed
cannot
it?
buy groceries on a Sunday afternoon forces a level of planning that is entirely un-British. And then
But don't they even have one or two shops that are open, Trini? Well, at least until late on Sunday. It's just, no, everything's closed. Literally everything.
there's the evening. When a Brit thinks of going for drinks, they think of pints of lukewarm ale or gin and tonics. When they see how vodka is consumed in Poland, neat,
Straight.
ice cold, and treated with the respect a Frenchman gives to wine, it's a revelation.
Do they
The
really
shock
do
isn't
straight?
just the drink itself.
Do they really do that straight vodka right out the bottle just with ice? That's not for the faint of heart. I'll say that.
It's the chaser culture. The idea of biting into a pickled cucumber after a shot is a culinary hardware update that most Brits
Oh.
didn't know they needed.
Well, but that's sort of similar to a martini, but your martini has gin as well, not just straight vodka, and you have the olive, right? And not everyone likes it. Well, you can make it extra dirty or dirty, whatever you like, but well, sure, maybe it's not that bad.
For the budget-conscious Brit, the Bar Malexny Milk Bar is the ultimate culture shock.
What on earth
The
is
name
that?
suggests a place that sells milkshakes or dairy products,
Oh,
but
that's
the
what it
reality is a high-quality, government-subsidized canteen serving grandma-style cooking.
What?
In a
It
British
looks very
city,
fancy.
a cheap meal usually means fast food, greasy, processed, and unhealthy. To find a place in Poland where you can get handmade pierogi or kotlet schabowy for the price of a London meal deal is
What is that?
staggering. It's a remnant of a different era that has been polished for the modern day, and it represents a value for real food that the UK has arguably lost in the rush of the 21st century.
Ouch.
Finally, we have the zebra crossing rule. In the UK, stopping at a crossing is a polite suggestion often ignored by hurried drivers.
Oh,
In
really?
Poland, the law regarding pedestrian priority is taken with deadly seriousness.
As it should
For
be.
a Brit, seeing a car come to a screeching halt the moment you even think about stepping onto the white lines is a shock to the system.
Oh, really?
It's
I
a
thought
symbol of a society that, beneath the direct exterior and the lack of small talk, has a very firm set of rules and a deep respect for the order of things. Poland doesn't try to be easy for visitors, it just is what it is. And for the British
I like
traveler, that honesty is the biggest shock of all. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the cultural bridge between the UK and Poland, make sure to hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that this kind of cultural insight matters. Subscribe to The Poland for more stories that explore the fascinating reality of life in this corner of Europe. What should we cover next? The mystery of Polish weddings or the secrets of the mountains? Let us know below.
What? Well, I think I didn't really expect. It's funny because I mentioned it earlier in the video how I thought that the cultures weren't that dissimilar, but and they mentioned it on the surface. I think they're apparently quite similar to each other. But once you actually you start counting the actual differences, and it's really they're very different. Which of course I know they're gonna be. Again, they're two different countries. I think though it just depends on who you're comparing them. I think maybe again Poland to the UK. Maybe again a lot of differences, even though ultimately they're both European. I think always if you compare those two cultures, or you just compare Polish or even British culture to American or Canadian culture, it's probably going to be more of a difference because obviously again they're both in Europe and the others are not. So I think it just depends on what you're comparing them to. But I think it's just funny because on the surface I actually thought, well, I don't know how different could they be. But no, I can see there's really distinct differences. I think the most shocking to me was the one about how, I don't know if this, it's the directness. I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of countries in Europe share this. It's just a very, I don't know why that is, but it's really, I think it's strange because I always thought that was, again, it's, Europe compared to the rest of the world, or to at least, well, I don't know the rest of the world, but at least a lot of places, which I think a lot of the countries in Europe are just very straight, they're very direct. And that directness, it just comes across, I think, if you come from a culture that doesn't really, that values, again, small talk, or just, make things, because maybe it's not about small talk. It's just a little bit about just not being that direct. I think sometimes it can come across as, oh, that person is so rude to me, or again, they can't hate me. But again, it's just, no, that's just the way things are done. In Europe, I think, again, just depends on the person. I think probably also depends on the country, probably. But I think most countries in Europe just have that sort of directness that can come across as a little bit of a shock if you're not used to this. And even if you're used to this, it's still quite a bit of, I don't know, it's just a little strange sometimes. Because again, it's not really, I don't know, in you, right? But I thought that it was all, or most of countries in Europe had this. And including the UK, which I think people tend to forget. I think even themselves, they tend to forget. You're European as well. I know, they're not part of the EU, but they're still in the continent, right? It's still Europe, and I think sometimes, I don't know why, it feels as if they are sort of, maybe it's, the fact that they're not sort of in the actual mainland Europe, so they feel a little bit, I don't know, disconnected from, that continent, and they feel as if they're quite distinct. But it's really funny to me. I don't know why that is. And I think it's just a lot of people, they feel as if, a lot of British people are, oh yeah, of course we're also Europeans, but it's not necessarily where their mind first goes or whatever. But things like this, it just makes me feel, oh well, I can see why the difference. I don't know why that is, but it's really, I think, a really distinct difference. Because the fact that they don't really, and I never really actually thought about this, and it's true, right? Because I think because British people, you hear about them being so polite and so into, again, it's not about shy, right? But it's just more about, the small talk, the politeness. You don't want to come across as rude, right? You don't want to come across as, oh my God, what a mean person. Because it's sort of, etiquette comes first. And that directness is sort of, again, we can really, that doesn't really take that much precedence because it's more important to come across as nicer or polite. And I think obviously it's because they value that. And obviously in Poland, they just very, directness is really, it's the coin, it's really how you move around because again, in a lot of countries in Europe are like that. So it's really funny to me that, okay, so how come the UK doesn't really have this? If most of Europe really does have this sort of directness, how come the UK is so separate from that? It's, I think they're the only country, well, maybe not the only country, of course there are others in Europe, but I think when it comes to Europe, it's just the smaller quantity of places that prefer sort of the small talk situation. I think it's just kind of an interesting thing to be, oh, come on, how they're like that? I think it can be, again, the shockness of it all. I think it's more of a, whoa, what? But it's that they don't really they don't really do this on purpose. It's just, again, it's their currency, it's directness, and it's really, again, you're just in you are in their world, and you're sort of you're living in their world, and they don't have to change to cater to you. I understand that, but it can be a little bit of a whoa, hold on, what? But they feel as if it's the most normal thing in the world because that's really how they operate. But I can tell why some British people may feel as if whoa, what was that? The other was the fact that, how punctual I think they are. Again, maybe this is just and maybe I'm comparing this to the US. I'm comparing British and American cultures, but I constantly keep hearing about, British people are so punctual and they're so, again, because I think that comes across with the politeness of it all. They don't want to be seen as, because it's true, right? It's impolite to make people wait. And it's true, if I tell you it's at 5 p.m., it's 5 p.m. I'm not expecting you to arrive at 15, at 5:15 because it seems rude, right? It's not. I left you waiting. So again, this is an extreme case, but I thought that they were very punctual, and that really comes across not in their daily sort of activities with other individuals and with other people, but also that was also in their transportation system, again, in their buses, their trains. And if a train says that it's going to arrive at 4:58, then, oh yeah, it's going to arrive at 4:58. Because I think British people are just known for being so punctual and so sort of very polite and reserved and just very, yes, if I tell you an hour, it's going to be an hour. But apparently no, apparently it isn't. And it's sort of something that only happens once in a blue moon, in which, the thing said 6 and it's going to arrive at 6. I'm wondering how much of a delay it actually has. Because I think sometimes if it's just 1 minute or 2 minutes, I mean, when you're waiting for the train, I know that it feels like you've been waiting there forever, but maybe in real time, it's only been about 3 minutes, maybe around 3 minutes, right? But you feel as if it's, oh my God, I've been here for an hour. It's not, you haven't been here for an hour, but it just feels like that. Especially, I think, maybe not so much trains, but I think in the subway, time moves differently, and you feel as if, you're enclosed in the space, and it's, oh my God, it's been forever, and it's 3 minutes, and it's like, chill, it's 3 minutes, calm down. But again, I get 3 minute delay to me is not really that bad. I think that's incredible. That would be incredible. Amazing. Oh my God, you arrived almost on time. That's perfect. But again, maybe for British people, I do not know, right? Maybe we're not talking about a 3 or 5 minute difference. Maybe we're talking about 10 minutes. The train has a really big delay, as in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, which of course that's going to feel like hours and hours if you're stuck in there just waiting for 15 minutes. That's a long time to be waiting for a train. But I don't know if, again, do you have to wait 15 minutes? Or again, the delays are just compared to other places, maybe they feel as if, oh my God, we have to wait for so long. And compared to Poland, which apparently everything's really strict, which I think that's how things should go, right? In an ideal world, that's how the transport and public transport should, function. But, sadly, that's not really the reality. So, of course, in an ideal, perfect world, yes, sure. If the thing said 7, it's 7. But again, real life, things happen, our constant things happen, again, traffic, delays. I don't know what makes it a train delayed, actually. It's the same thing every day, right? There's no traffic, but it's not as if you're in a car and it varies. I don't know. I don't really know the intricacies of a subway or a train, but it's just how it should be. Amazing. Love that Poland apparently has they run a straight and, they run a tight ship over there, a tight ship, a strict line, and that's what it should be. Hopefully, more countries should replicate that. It's really funny because, if the UK, apparently British tourists are going there and say, you know what, they have it great. How come we can do this, right? It is possible. Poland has showed the world that it is possible to have, this public transport system that actually works. And if I tell you if it's one specific time, it's going to be one specific time. So again, what are they doing? We should replicate that. Just saying, not just the UK. I think all countries should probably replicate that. The other was, it was really funny to me, the soup situation. I didn't know they had borscht. I pronounced it really badly, but it's the beet soup. It's really good. I didn't know, apparently, Polish. It's Polish. I don't know. No idea. But what's funnier to me is that apparently, to me, it's normal to have this first sort of, the first course when you're sort of having a meal, not every day. Well, some people do, I don't know, whatever. But, if you are in this sort of fancy etiquette situation, or maybe you go out at a restaurant, it's normal to have, as a first course, you have a soup. It's normal. But I don't know if apparently the British people have this as a third or fourth course, maybe before dessert. That's strange to me. I'm sorry, it's weird. It doesn't, soup only, it opens up the appetite. I think that's the point, right? It's not supposed to signify we're done here. It's supposed to open things up, right? So it's really strange to British people have this thing about, we're having soup at the end of the meal. That's weird. But also, I didn't know that apparently soups in Poland were that good and were that sort of popular. But I think maybe it makes sense. I think that really does, because again, it's during the winter. Of course, it's really nice to, when it's cold outside, to have warm beverage and just to drink warm things. It's nice because it's really cold. So maybe it doesn't surprise me if I really think about this. Of course, they must have so many types of soups because the winter it's wintering, is really cold. So of course they had to find ways to sort of make things a little bit easier for them. So of course they're probably soups that have hundreds of years, and they have probably millions and probably hundreds of recipes. And yes, it's good. I want to know which ones are the famous ones. I want to try them all because they look good. Yes, of course, it must be so comforting to have a warm plate of a bowl of soup in the middle of when it's minus 15 degrees. It must be great. And the other thing that was actually quite shocking to me, it was two things. I know that on Sundays a lot of clothes are, a lot of, I think specifically actually, not just with the shopping situation, but not just in, I don't know, you're shopping for clothes or, I don't know, furniture. It's just specifically about food. So I don't know if it's just supermarkets that close on Sundays. I just think it's a strange concept to me. I mean, I get it, right? I understand, but I don't know if it's just, are you actually telling me that, I'm not going to be able to find one supermarket chain that it's open, on Sunday at, let's say, at 6 p.m. Is it really? Because I know that a lot of places have this, in which, they close this culture that closes on Sundays, but it's maybe, a furniture shop, maybe not something that's so, I don't know, urgent or important. Maybe, again, I would understand, well, they're closed on Sundays. Even, again, a clothes shop, I can understand maybe closing on Sunday. But even when it comes to actual, food, it's just a little strange to me that, again, I understand maybe some of them are closed, but not even one. I'm not going to be able to find not even one. Is it really? Again, I have no idea, but it's just really crazy to me to not be able to find not even one store. I don't know. It's just crazy. And the other, it has to do with the drinks. It's really, again, not to make it all about alcohol, but they drink it. I think that's a stereotype, but apparently it's not a stereotype. They drink, I know that Polish people love their vodka, right? I know, again, probably not a stereotype, but I thought it was. Oh my God, apparently they do. They love their vodka. But I thought it was, well, I don't know, maybe they have cocktails with vodka, pour it straight in a shot, with ice, and we're going to have it like this, straight. is it a shot, just one, or do you sort of nurse your drink, your vodka glass, for a few hours, just little sips, or it's just, no, it's just, one go. And then apparently you have to eat a pickle at the end, as a tequila shot, but instead of the lemon, you have the pickle. It's strange. I'm sorry, it is weird, but now I kind of want to try it because, again, my martinis are great. So if you like martinis, maybe you're going to like this. I don't know, maybe that's a tradition in Poland. I don't know. It sounds a little strange, but now, the more I think about it, it's sort of a martini, right? Again, without the gin, and you're not gonna make it. I don't know. I would do the pickle juice. I would put it in my vodka. I know it's not a martini. I would put it in my vodka glass just because. Again, maybe it's just probably just because I prefer my martinis extra dirty. So I don't know, but I just think it's really weird, the concept of you're having your vodka shot, or maybe again your little sips, and you have a pickle jar, and then you're kind of having a pickle after you sip. I don't know. That's apparently a really weird tradition to me, but who knows? Maybe I misunderstood the whole thing. So I don't know, but I would like that explained. I would like some clarification and maybe try it, because who knows, right? You never know until you try it. So apparently straight vodka, maybe it's really good. Who knows? But that's it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.